My next guest is a welterweight contender from Rochester, New York, and you can catch his next fight when he headlines LFA 167 against Devin Smyth. That fight happens on September 15th in Niagara Falls. Make sure you either go to Niagara Falls to watch that fight or check it out streaming worldwide on UFC Fight Pass. I'm joined by the man himself, Jonathan Piersma. John, welcome. Pleasure to meet you. Glad we can do this, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk about the scene in Western New York. When I think of Western New York, first guy that comes to my head, even though he doesn't train there, Gregor Gillespie. That's the first guy I think of, but I know that he's in Long Island. I think of Desmond Green. He trains out of Florida. So now, like holding it down, like now you're the first person I think of, and you're actually training out of Western New York. Jacob Bond's another guy I know out there.
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool guy, and he's been on the scene for a number of years. So I was hoping we could start there. Can you tell me what is the scene like, and who are some of the other guys in your area that I might not know about that I should know about?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, when you think of, mixed martial arts, you don't really, think of Western New York as like, like a hot spot of, up and coming guys. Um, yeah. So the biggest thing out here is it's just so spread out. Like, there's a lot of guys. We don't have like, one big gym with a bunch of pros, and it's kind of really spread out. So like my gym, Synthesis BJJ, I train at right now. Currently, we have quite a few amateur fighters. We probably have like it's been growing, 10 to 12 guys. Probably fighting actively amateur. I fight pro. I have one of my main training partners, Relvis Hernandez. He's pro. I got a heavyweight kid I train with at our gym, Nat. He's going to be going pro soon, so we're starting to grow that. We're starting to get a lot of people in. It's starting to really pick up. People are really starting to get interested. So we're getting pretty a good stable of guys. But yeah, so for training wise, I get a lot of my training at the gym, but we also have quite a few other pro guys in the area. So a lot of times what we do is we get together. Like Liam Anderson, he's a kid. He's actually fighting on LFA. He's a middleweight. He trains in Rochester, so he'll come over and spar. Jacob Bone, like you had mentioned to me, he has his gym. Him and then Jake Hicksonbaugh, who's also they're both fighting coming up in the next 2 weekends in a row. Hicksonbaugh for CFFC and Bones fighting for the title for Ring of Combat. So they're out in Leroy, like, 20, 30 minutes away. So they'll come up, we'll go out there. So yeah, it's kind of spread out. We don't got one big gym dominated with a bunch of pro guys, but we got, a good group of guys around the area. So, we do our training in our gyms and we make sure to, get together, a couple times a week, to get sparring and training together, get that, did you really get a room full of pros? So yeah, there'll be days we get sparring with, 6 or 7 pros in there, but yeah, but it's spread out. So yeah, so that's the biggest thing. It's spread out. It's not, one or two big gyms with all the guys. It's kind of spread out. But there's definitely some good guys out here.
As you mentioned before, John, you train out of Synthesis BJJ. And that's like a gym, like I frankly don't really know a whole lot about your gym other than the fact that you train there. You mentioned some of your other partners and stuff that you're getting work in, but what's like the culture of your gym like? I'm always curious to kind of like when I find out somebody from a gym I'm not familiar with, I'm trying to like get a better understanding like what is it kind of like there? Like you mentioned a lot of amateurs are there, so I'd imagine for somebody like you that probably puts you in more of like a leadership sort of role in that gym, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first started training there, like it's been 6.5, going on 7 years ago. There really wasn't much for guys fighting there. It's jujitsu and grappling based gym heavy. It still is. It's still, majority of the people who train there, do jujitsu. But over the years it's really grown. As in, I started with me, I was kind of when I first started fighting amateur, I was kind of on my own, like a couple guys here and there. But like I said, we've grown it over the years. So now we're to the point where we got all the jujitsu and the gi jujitsu, the no gi wrestling, and so we have all that. But now we've really added, a striking program. We've added like, a lot of MMA in there. So it's really grown. Yeah, it's a great culture. It's a big gym. We've grown. We got a, a beautiful gym. We moved into about a year and a half ago. 3 different mat spaces. So, I mean, we could have 3 different classes going on at the same time. But yeah, we've really grown it. There's a good little group of guys fighting now. But yeah, it's great culture. Like I said, it's still majority grappling, jiu-jitsu. A lot of people come for that, but we're really growing the MMA scene in our gym too.
When I think of somebody with your background, I can't help but get even more impressed that you've like ascended to this level in mixed martial arts. Like when I think of top welterweight prospects in the country, like you're on that list of like top guys in my mind. You've really only been doing this a short amount of time. You haven't been wrestling your entire life. Your ears look pretty good. You haven't been doing jujitsu your entire life. Like these are all things that you've been picking up over the past like few years. Like you're like a former football player and like you're coming into this way late in the game. And that's what's weird about you is because I think of your wrestling right away. I think of your jujitsu right away. Those are the first two things I think about with you. And usually with like athletes that come into MMA late, they kind of like have this like brawler type stereotype. They may not be the most technical guys. They're just boxers or, whatever it is. And I was curious when you first started and you're trying to like shed that like former football player label, did a lot of people pigeonhole you into being that type of fighter maybe when you were an amateur when you first started?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, but like I said, I grew up. I didn't wrestle. My high school didn't even have wrestling, so I played basketball, football. Growing up, went to college and played football. Towards the end of my college career, that's when I started training my junior year. So yeah, when I started training, I took very natural to the grappling and the wrestling aspect. So like my first year of training was very much just jujitsu and grappling, a little bit of striking thrown in there. I wasn't doing a lot of striking. I just naturally took to the grappling. I really enjoyed it. So I did my first couple amateur fights. Pretty much just grabbed the guy, fucking got him down, and submitted him. So then I was like, okay, I kind of want to do this as a career. So I started working striking, but I've always took naturally to the grappling and the wrestling. So that's just always I just naturally I've competed a lot in nogi. I really enjoyed the grappling and jiu-jitsu. So I always took to it naturally. Over the last couple of years, I've really picked up the striking and working on that, training that, and started to learn to like that. But ever since day one when I started, I was just took to the grappling very naturally. And that's like I said, over my first year, that was mostly what I was doing until I was like, oh, I really want to try this fight now.
Absolutely. Well, what's interesting enough, we're talking about wrestling, we're talking about grappling, but when you fought in Combat FC against Sanad Armouti, it was your striking that actually set up the finish. You hurt him really badly with your jab, and then you were able to land, I want to say it was an overhand right on him. He turned his back for a little bit. That sets up a level change, and then that's the beginning of the end of the fight. So it was your striking that set that up. And I was hoping I could ask you, what are the key parts about that fight that you remember? The first round was definitely interesting. That was a high level chess match. And the second round was a lot different.
Yeah, so I remember, going to that fight. He was a super tall, long, and he was really well known for his jiu-jitsu and his submissions. So going in the fight, I mean, I wasn't worried about that because I'm confident anyone in a fight, I can out grapple him. But we knew we had to be careful. So I took him down early in the fight because I wasn't worried about that. That's my game. I was kind of back and forth for a little bit. I was stuck in his guard for a while, and towards the end of the round, I really hit him with some good shots, kind of hurt him. And then the second round, I came out and I was like, oh, let me try to strike because a lot of people, watch my fights. There's not a lot of I don't show a lot of strike because most of my fights have gone to the ground or gone into grappling pretty quick. So I haven't been able to show much striking, and so people think I can't strike. But my coaches, my training partners know I can. I just haven't really been able to show it. So I came out in that second round, started working the jab, working some kicks, and I started, feeling good in there. Like I said, I hit him with that overhand right. And my striking coach still gives me a hard time about the fact that I took him down after I rocked him because I could have finished him on a it would have been nice, but my instincts took over. We worked that combo, the overhand right into the hook, into the takedown, and I hit it perfectly. But I didn't, in the moment, I didn't realize how bad I hurt him with the overhand. If I just would have backed up and, threw another combo, I probably could have got him there on the feet. So, but it is what it is. Like, I have that in my back pocket. And, as time goes, more fights goes, I'll show him more.
One of the key parts about the ending sequence for the fight, you get the takedown and you put yourself in between the cage, the fence, and then your opponent. So he's really in trouble at this point. There really isn't anywhere to escape. You managed to put him in a crucifix to end the fight, and I was hoping you can kind of walk me through how did you identify that, and can you tell me just kind of like how you set that up and where you were able to finish it?
Yeah, so as I went in for the takedown, I knew in the first round when I took him down straight into his guard, and that was his best position on the ground was, submitting. That's, I think, most of his wins were submitting people off his back. And like I said, I wasn't worried about being submitted. That's where he had the best chance to catch me or something, and kind of get stuck in there, hard to pass his guard. So I didn't want to let another round go of me just being on top, hitting him a little bit, winning the round, but just making it kind of boring. So I knew on this takedown to try to pass, take him down and pass the guard in the takedown. So I took him down, making sure I didn't get caught up in his guard, pass side control. And that top crucifix is, one of my favorite positions to get to. He was also pretty tired. So I got to that top crucifix. And I would have liked to, finish him with some elbows and make it a little more, definitive. But, he was so long, I was so stretched out that I couldn't hit him with some elbows. So we had to finish it the way we did. But yeah, overall, good win, good performance. But, things we're working on still and getting better at.
Good win, good performance. I know that you had some health setbacks and this is your first fight back since then. But at what point does LFA give you a call and say, hey, we got an opportunity for you in Niagara Falls? What do you think about that? At what point do they reach out to you and offer you the headline fight?
Yeah, so Niagara Falls, LFA actually came to Niagara Falls back in March and they wanted me to fight, but it just didn't work out. The turnaround was too quick because my fight was in February. So that didn't work. So then, like you said, I had a fight booked for Combat FC. I was supposed to be fighting for their title back in June. I had a little health thing come up. Unfortunately, I was unable to take that. I had to pull out of that fight. But then towards beginning of July, I was good. Everything was healthy. I was back training full. So I was just looking for a fight. Telling my manager I've been out too long. Like, we just got to get something locked down. I actually wanted to fight in like end of July, early August, but nothing really came up. So then I think towards the end of July, that's when LFA, hit up my manager, like, we're coming to Niagara Falls. We want me to really fight on it, knowing I'm kind of local. So we said, yep. They sent us some names. We were picking names. A couple guys said no. And then they sent me this guy's name. They're like, he already said he's in. Are you in? We're like, yeah, let's do it. So that's how it got set up.
And, just for the record, I was busy that weekend. That's why I said no. So don't take it personally.
It's all good.
Bad dad joke aside, Devin Smyth, 9-3, fought on Contender Series, and he's had a little bit of a prolonged absence away from the cage, but now he's coming back for the first time in a couple years. Does it make your game plan and preparations a little more difficult for a guy that has kind of been out of the game for a couple years?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with, I think this is going to be his first fight in 3 years. So, obviously we're not sure what he's been doing in that 3 years. I don't, if he's been injured, if he's just been taking time off, or if he's just, been in the gym training, can't get a fight. We don't really know why he's been out for 3 years. So we do our best whether we watch this film, and I'm not big on really like super game planning for specific opponents. I get with my coach, we watch film, we really mark down the things that they're good at, the things we gotta be careful of. We train that, so we make sure, we're all set on that kind of thing. So he does this well, we gotta watch out for this. We get that stuff, taken care of. But at the end of the day, I just, I go in there and be me. I do my game plan. I don't so much worry about what they're doing. Like I said, little things here and there, like, oh, we got to watch this, we got to watch that. But as far as the game planning, we watch his things and, we watch his fights. We kind of have an idea of what he's going to do and who he is. But really, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do my game plan. And I'm confident that if I fight my fight and I do what I do, it's not going to matter what he does. It's because I'm going to be, if I do my game, it's going to be too much for him.
There's like kind of a lot on the line for this particular fight. I know that's kind of a maybe on the surface a dumb thing to say because all MMA fights are big, but at the same time, for you in general, like for you specifically, I'm trying to say you're a 6-1 guy. He is a 9-3 guy. And you're talking about like two very like built up prospects that when you guys fight, people pay attention. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in the UFC welterweight class in particular. This is a headline fight. I know you've headline fights before, but this is like your first headline fight in New York. So that's kind of a big deal. And I know all your family are probably going to come in for this one. Do you have to like mentally prepare maybe a little bit different compared to like going out to like Massachusetts? Because when you're the blue corner, no one gives a shit. But when you're fighting at home, obviously people do. People are buying tickets. Nobody's spending $500 to go watch you lose. Everyone's like, oh dude, he's gonna go choke this guy out in like 2 seconds because he's the badass, right? And like how people are. So I'm just trying to get your perspectives. Like there's a lot of hype behind you, right? And the fights in Western New York, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I don't really put too much thought in that. At the end of the day, it's just me and him going in a cage to fight. It doesn't really matter where it is. Yeah, it's cool that for once I'm kind of the hometown guy. For once, pretty much all my fights I've been fighting the hometown guy. Pretty much everywhere I've went, I've been fighting the guy from the hometown. So it is cool for once to be the hometown guy. I'll probably get a good crowd there, a lot of family will be, get a lot of friends who haven't been able to go to fights, obviously, because I'm always pretty far travel. So yeah, it's really cool to have all that support and get all those people there. For once to be able to watch me fight. This might be the only time I fight local. But when we get down to it, we get down to that on fight day. That's really not going to matter to me because I got a job to do. Like I said, I'm going to get in the cage with him. It doesn't matter if we're in Western New York. It doesn't matter if we're in Florida. It doesn't matter if we're in, Texas. We're going to get in there. We're going to fight, and all that stuff doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Completely.
So it doesn't. For me, it doesn't make a difference as in the fight. It's but it is a cool thing to be able to be the hometown guy for once. Not have to drive 7 hours or have to fly. So that's nice. But at the end of the day, a fight's a fight. So.
It's difficult to look ahead because you're in like a weird kind of spot where it's like you win and then like you kind of have to wait and see. You never know when the UFC is going to call and offer you an opportunity. You never know if the LFA is going to want you to fight for a title fight. So it's like one of those things where you definitely have to be flexible. But in your mind, after this fight, should it go your way and you're relatively healthy, is the aim to compete again before the end of the year?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I've had I think this has been the longest layoff in my career to this point, February to September, so 7 months. So this has been the longest layoff I've had as a pro. So yeah, I'm 100%. Barring any injuries or anything crazy, I definitely plan, to definitely fight again this year. Obviously go in there and put a great performance on LFA main event, big opportunity. Yeah, it obviously be awesome, to get my chance to UFC, last minute contender series, short notice fill in, whatever it is. Yes, obviously that'd be, perfect world. But, I try not to think about that too much because at the end of the day, I don't control that. And I don't have any control over that. I just got to kind of, it happens when it happens. So we're going to go in there. We're going to put on a great performance. If I get called up, great. If not, like I said, I want to turn around. I missed 7 months. So I want to turn around and hopefully fight, latest sometime in November after this one. So, like I said, we got to take care of this and can't look ahead. But yeah, the plan is to definitely fight at least one more time this year.
All right, perfect. Well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in for that fight that happens on September 15th. And John, I had kind of two quick questions for you. Number one, are you still selling tickets for the event? And were there any sponsors that you needed to talk about before I let you go?
Yeah, tickets. Yeah, still selling tickets. There's a link in my bio on my Instagram. You can click on that. They'll take you to the site to buy tickets. And yeah, sponsors. We're working on finishing all that up. I got so many sponsors this fight. So it's awesome. I got so much support. You guys all know who you are. We're gonna be doing sponsorship stuff here soon. But yeah, shout out to all my sponsors. They make this possible. They make it possible for me to be able to do this full time, especially on the regional scene. It's tough. But yeah, like I said, we'll be doing sponsorship here soon for this fight. But yeah, shout out to all my sponsors. You guys mean a lot, and you guys really make this possible.
Well, John, I wish you the best of skill on September 15th. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you back in the near future, sir.
For sure. Can't wait. I'll come back on after this win.